Hi guys, Miss Skiles here. This is our first lesson for the week of April, our first lesson for April. So, we're going to be doing something really cool today. We're going to be doing an experiment, and it's going to be an experiment that spans the whole week. So it's going to be something that you're going to be working on the whole week, okay? We're going to be doing an egg and vinegar experiment, okay? So the materials you're going to need are vinegar. Okay, I just use this. Apple cider vinegar should work, okay? Or you can just use regular vinegar. It doesn't matter. And then you're going to need an egg, okay? So my eggs are brown, but you can use white eggs. That works fine. Any type of egg is fine. So I'm just going to be using one of these. And then you're going to need a clear jar of some sort, okay? The reason we need it to be clear is so you can see it in the jar and see what's happening to the egg so you can make observations, okay? So make sure that it's clear. Before we start this experiment, I want you guys to write down on a piece of paper. You're going to make a little chart, okay? So at the top of my paper, it says Egg and Vinegar Experiment Observations, okay? And then I have my name up here. You guys don't have to put your name because you're not going to turn it in, but you can if you want to. And then you're going to have day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then at the very bottom, you're going to have conclusion, okay? So you can draw lines between these. I didn't, but you can if you want to, okay? So for day 1, so that's going to be today. So after we put our egg in the vinegar, you're going to leave it in the vinegar all week, okay? But later tonight, I want you guys to look at your egg and see what it's doing, and I want you to write notes. And I'm going to be doing this along with you guys, okay? And then next week, we're going to go over our observations. So for day 1, so tonight, I'm going to put my egg in with you guys now, and then tonight we're gonna look at it and see what it's doing, okay? And you guys are gonna do this at home on your own, and you're gonna mark down, is the egg bigger? Is it bubbling? Is the eggshell cracking? Is the egg moving in the vinegar? Is it staying in one place? Okay? Anything that you see that the egg is doing, I just want you to write it down. Okay? It doesn't have to be in a certain order. Just write it down here. Okay? And then tomorrow, I want you to check your egg at night again. Okay? Give it a full day to do what it's going to do. And I want you to write what it looks like tomorrow night. Okay? Is it changing color? Is it getting bigger? Is it getting smaller? What is it doing? And you're going to do this all week long, okay? All the way to day 7, okay? So if you're watching this video on a Monday, you're going to do it all the way to the next Monday. If you're watching it on a Tuesday, you're going to do it all the way to the next Tuesday, okay? So it's going to take 7 days to do, okay? And then at the end, when your experiment is done, when you've done it for 7 days, you're going to take the egg out of the jar. Okay, you're going to take it out and you're going to see what happened to it. Did the vinegar all disappear? Did the egg get smaller, bigger? What does it feel like? You can smell it. It might smell a little gross, but you can smell it. You can take it out of there, rinse it off, and we're going to see what it did. Okay, now some of you may have done this experiment already, and if you know what happens, then that's awesome. But if you already know, that's okay. We're going to do it again. You'll just have probably a better hypothesis because you know what's going to happen. So before we even start, I'm going to do this with you guys. We're going to form a hypothesis, okay? Now, you can write this down if you need to for your notes. But a hypothesis is, what do we think is going to happen based on the knowledge that we have, okay? What do we think is going to happen based on our knowledge? Now, I'm going to give you guys some information so we can make a hypothesis so we know what we think might happen, okay? And then I'm going to go over some vocab words with you in a second too. So we have our egg and we have our vinegar. Now, eggs and vinegar are very different things, right? Now, vinegar is an acid, okay? So an acid is, if you never heard the word acid, we're going to go over it, okay? So acid is a strong chemical. Okay, it can dissolve things. So when you think of acid, I want you to think in your head, what do you think of? okay, when you hear acid? Probably something that's really strong, something that can dissolve another object, something that you might clean with, okay? So when we think of acids, we think of strong chemicals, okay? An acid, it can be found in our stomachs, in our gastric juices, in our stomachs. It's what helps us break down food, okay? And that's one of the strongest acids out there is the gastric juices in our stomach, okay? So that's an acid. Now, a base is like the opposite of an acid, okay? A base is not acidic. It's the opposite, okay? Bases, when they're mild, can calm acids down, okay? Now, some bases, you may not know what a base is, but some bases can be toothpastes, okay? And they can be soaps, okay? Which is kind of odd because you might think that's an acid because soaps clean, but they're bases, okay? So soaps and toothpaste are more bases. Now, vinegar is our acid, okay? For this experiment, vinegar is our acid, and the egg is our base. Okay, now when we think of a base, we probably don't think of an egg, but the egg shell is made up of something called calcium carbonate. Okay, now you can write it down if you need to. Calcium carbonate is the base. Okay, so that's what the shell is made of with an egg. Now, calcium carbonate is similar to what our bones are made of. Okay, so the calcium carbonate and the acid in the vinegar are going to react. Okay. And that's going to be our experiment. What happens when they react? Okay, so I told you that bases can calm acids, and I've told you that what acids can do, so they break down things like in our stomach. Okay, and bases can calm acids. So I want you to use that information, and I want you to think about what might happen if we put this egg in a glass with vinegar for 7 days. What's going to happen? Okay, so I want you to think about it, and we're going to write down our hypothesis. Remember, our hypothesis is what we think is going to happen with the knowledge that we have. Okay, so I'm going to write it down with you guys. Okay, so what I think is going to happen. Okay, this is just my thought. Okay, I think that the acid. So I'm going to put the acid is going to liquefy the egg. Okay, so there's my hypothesis. The acid is going to liquefy the egg. Now, that's what I think is going to happen based on the knowledge that I have. I don't know for sure if that's what's going to happen. That's just what I think. And your hypothesis can be different than mine. Okay? If you think that it's going to do something different, then I want you to write that down. Okay? Whatever you think is going to happen, write that down. You don't have to use my hypothesis. Okay? So once you have that, we're going to get started. Okay? So go ahead and finish writing your hypothesis. And then I'm going to get everything ready for our experiment. Okay, so you guys should have your hypothesis down. Now, don't change your hypothesis during this, okay? Because we're going to look back at the end when we do our conclusion, and we're going to see if what really happened matches to our hypothesis. And if it doesn't match up, that's okay, okay? But I want you to just keep that, what your first guess was, okay? So, we have our egg. We're going to take our egg, okay? And we're going to put it in our jar. Now, just do it carefully. You don't want it to crack. Make sure your egg doesn't have any cracks on it, or it won't do the same thing with the experiment, okay? So we're going to put it in there gently, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to cover the egg with vinegar. Now, you don't have to fill this whole jar up with vinegar. Just fill it up enough to cover the egg, okay? And be careful not to move the glass around too much, or else it might crack the egg, and we don't want that to happen. Okay, so I'm going to pour my vinegar in over my egg. Okay, so that covered the egg just enough. Okay, see how the egg is barely being covered? That's exactly what you want, okay? And be careful when you pour the vinegar that you don't get it on anything, okay? Okay, so this is going to smell really vinegary, okay? So make sure you put it in a place that the smell is not going to bother you. So I'm probably going to put it in my kitchen so that way I can observe it, but then also it doesn't bother me too much, okay? So my egg is covered in vinegar. And I want you guys to see and watch what it does. You guys see how it's fizzing up a little bit? You guys see that? It's kind of hard to tell on the computer, but if you guys are doing this now, you'll see. I'm going to look at it. It's fizzing. Okay? So that can even be, you can put that on your observation sheet. Okay? So for day 1, I'm going to check it later tonight, but I'm going to go ahead and put egg fizzes up in vinegar. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and write that down, and then I'm going to add to it later when I check it tonight, okay? So that's our first observation, that the egg is fizzing up. Okay? And then we're going to leave this in a place where it won't get bothered, and we're going to check it every day, okay, for the whole week. And then next week, we're going to get our egg out of the jar, and we can do it together. So you can get it out when I get my egg out, as long as it's been 7 days, okay? And if you watch this video on a Tuesday and I do it on a Monday, just watch the video on a Tuesday, okay? And then, or whatever day you start with. We'll take the egg out, okay? We'll look at it and we'll see what happened to it. And then we'll write a conclusion about what happened, okay? With the vinegar and then the calcium carbonate and the eggshell and what happened to the egg. Okay, so that's our experiment. It's going to be a week-long experiment. Make sure that you're tracking every day. So make sure that you have an entry, okay, for all 7 days. All right, because this is important because we're going to see how the egg changes from day 1 all the way to day 7, okay? And then that way we can do our conclusion. So make sure you have your hypothesis for today, and then make sure you do your observations, okay? All right, so that's it, guys. I look forward to talking to you guys next week and seeing what happens with our eggs, okay? Well, have a good week, guys. I miss you.